This is the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson. In Kenya, officials are scrambling to determine how to deal with a spreading disease that is affecting the corn crop. It is known as maize disease. And my only issue is the fact that there has not been enough funding or concentration by governments to find some degree of treatment or cure for this disease. Essentially, what this is doing is limiting the amount of corn production and placing countries that rely on vast quantities of corn production in a situation where they are unstable in their food supply. There is no known treatment for this, and the political risk is clear. When you have something that affects a major food product, you should have spent years trying to not only determine how to mitigate the damage, prevent the damage, or at least put people in a position where they can have some place to go to recover from the damage. By not doing so, I would feel and do feel that this is a political risk. Kenya is a up and coming country in Africa, a country that I feel is very, very well placed to be a major economic power in the world and also on the continent of Africa in the coming few decades. However, this situation can set back poorer communities in Kenya, and that also is a political risk. By not tackling the problem in some way, you are creating more poverty. Poverty costs money, and where there is no money put in place to try to mitigate poverty, you're creating a group of people who have every right to want to partake in the economic development of a country, but don't have the means to do so. Food is a universal thing. And one of the elements, in my opinion, that really is the most contributing factor to civil unrest in a country is when the food supply is unstable. An unstable food supply is clearly an element of civil unrest. It is also a clear element of poverty. By not tackling this particular element, you are not tackling one of the root causes of civil unrest. You are also not tackling one of the major issues that result from chronic poverty. Having said this, by putting people to work, developing a way to mitigate the damage, or at a minimum, trying to find some other alternative to the economic losses of maize disease, I feel would certainly mitigate the economic damage and also possibly prevent civil unrest in Kenya. The fact that there is no clear, coherent policy that encompasses all these different elements and all these different issues is, in my opinion, the political risk. As you know by listening to these podcasts, I'm not one for half glass or full glass full policies. I would like to see policies that encompass a solution. And where there is none, or there is no discussion, or there is no direct idea trying to be applied to a particular situation, I feel that is a major political risk and a huge indicator of a lack of concentration of problems that will directly impact foreign direct investment. So, summing up, in Kenya, the issue of Maize disease is not being addressed in a fashion that I feel comfortable with, to the extent that it is not being addressed in a manner that will either mitigate damage being done by a biological, if I can use that term, I'm not a biologist, nor am I a scientist, but I believe the term is proper, a biological problem that is killing a major crop by not having some way to either address it in a manner that will cure the problem or lead to a discovery, or to bare minimum mitigate the economic damage of it. Kenya, or at least in this case the Kenyan government, is engaged in a long-term political risk. Long-term in the respect that there is no cure for this disease. And because there is no cure, it's going to take time. There's no focus on a cure. There's no focus on mitigating the damage. This is a long-term political risk in Kenya that will create poverty, continued poverty in certain areas, and the economic impact of this poverty will certainly be felt by foreign direct investors who want to do something in a particular area, but there is a lack of people who can actually do the work because the poverty level has impacted in an adverse way the education system, the nutrition system, and the overall living standards of the people who would be relied upon to be workers. This has been the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson.